Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday in the Rev, and a week before like Christmas week, and I guess we got some a few public service announcements, CJ.
Yep. Well, first one is today is the last day of the Festival of Lights, Hanukkah, for all our Jewish viewers. We said it at the beginning of Hanukkah. We'll say it again. Happy Hanukkah. Hope you enjoyed your holiday season. I know that a lot of people that watch our show actually were very grateful to see that we recognized them. They seem to feel like they're get ignored by the general community because everything's Merry Christmas, season's greetings, etc., etc. And finally, and I shouldn't say finally, I should say in advance, early, the I-195 westbound lanes are open. They shifted the lane 2 lanes over to the eastbound side, and they're open, and the road is actually flowing freer than it does regularly with 4 lanes open. So,
That's right. That's till everybody finds out that they're open again, and then it'll be jammed. But
right.
I went over that bridge when it was a two-lane all the time, both ways. When I used to work at Quonset many years ago, and that bridge was always a nightmare at rush hour. So it's still good, but at least the traffic will move now, so it's good. And there was some news about that. I guess Rhode Island has moved from 50th in infrastructure up to 46th. So they are moving up. Unlike Fall River, they're moving up. And while we're on Fall River, we have a lot. We got some stuff. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. But I've got to say that we have to say that yesterday they announced. I don't know if you saw it. Yesterday it announced the mayor of Providence, the new mayor, Brett Smiley, has earmarked another, and I say another because there's been a lot of money earmarked already for specifically for affordable housing units in Providence.
Oh my God.
5.4 million. Isn't it amazing that the only place on the planet Earth that we don't recognize the critical shortage of affordable housing nationwide? We see it all over the country. Fall River. Just like Fall River's the only one where the T's going to work. And it's going to save the city. It didn't save any other city in the Commonwealth, but it's going to save the city. The con artists, people must be really gullible in Fall River. They believe anything you tell them. I don't know. Because this
Well, as
is
a matter of
nuts.
fact, the T saving Fall River is, a pipe dream. And if we look at towns like Plymouth, which no longer gets the T, and they're happy about that, Newton, which is willing to give up its state subsidies and its state aid so as not to have the T or not to follow the T's regulations, Halifax. I mean, you've got all of these communities that are suing the T because they don't want the aggravation. But not Fall River, because this is going to solve Fall River's problem. You're muted, Chip.
Uh, but yeah, with that, we'll kill the T shortly. But you'll never see it. But I gotta also comment on. I guess everybody's seen the racist mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, had her colored only Christmas party, and then her bonehead secretary apparently sent it to the white city councilors in Boston. And I loved it because you see the total hypocrisy of these liberal phonies. They're so hypocritical. The virtue signal is, oh, diversity, equity, inclusion. And it didn't include white people because it's not about that. It's about oppressed and oppressors, as we said. They're oppressed. Michelle Wu, then she dismissed it. Oh, well, we always do that. No, you can't. You're not supposed to do that. By the way, They actually showed on one TV show the Massachusetts state law that prohibits something like this. And they used a public building. And when she was told about the law, she dismissed it again. It's like, well, it wasn't, we didn't fund it, the city didn't fund it, but you had it in a public building. And it was exclusionary, and it was racist. Isn't it amazing that it's never racist when the oppressed do it? And she's not even one of the oppressed, remember. She's having it for all the people of color. But remember when the Orientals complained about Harvard not blocking them in because they were too smart? So it's not about racism, it's about controlling everything. About conning people. So yeah, they can't be racist because she can't be racist because she's Oriental. She can't be. That's their definition. You can't be racist, even though you exclude a group. But that's not racist. Now, if they had an all-white Christmas party, there'd be a picket line a mile long out there. You'd have all kinds of people screaming and yelling. But this is, again, the hypocrisy of government. They all do this all the time. Because what they're basically telling you is, you know, they don't care about you. They love to just defecate on you. Because that's what it's about. It's like now, you got the president of Ukraine telling the United States not to work on their infrastructure. Don't spend any money on making this country better. Send me the money so I can fund the Ukraine government. Not for war implements that we were told at the beginning of this fiasco. We are now funding 1/3 of their government, their pensions, their salaries, and everything else. We're sending billions to Ukraine to fund their government and their pensions. So I got a good idea. Paul, call your buddy Jakey, because he's up in Washington. Tell him don't vote to send that money to Ukraine. Send the damn money down here, because you're always complaining about the pension system. They're funding Ukraine's pension system. Let them help fund our pension system if you're crying all the time. That might be a good idea. But no, that wouldn't be virtue signaling, would it? But that's the way they are. They're just phonies, to the infinite degree. And it's nauseating to watch this stuff, And then you got the president of Harvard lighting a menorah last night with a tiki torch. And we all remember about tiki torches. They came out with the tiki torches and said, kill all the Jews at one time. Biden even made a speech about it when they came out with their veins bulging with tiki torches. What was that? Was that a subliminal message that she's giving them the finger? She really doesn't care. After which she wouldn't condemn people saying kill an entire ethnic population. It's okay. It's okay because they're the oppressors. So I got my little pre-Christmas rant about their hypocrisy, because they've even turned Christmas into an absolute shit show. Biden had a Christmas nutcracker by a bunch of BLM and anti-white people. I mean, that's real inclusion. The man who's going to bring everybody together and that thing was abysmal. I saw parts of that. Not that I'm a big fan of ballet. I mean, I respect them. They are amazing athletes to do what they do. and they have to train really, really hard. But I've never been a big fan of the opera, although I did see the Nutcracker once. But I'd rather crack nuts than watch it. So that's what I'm doing today. And that's what we do every day. But I just had to get that in because it's it's a total joke. These politicians, they're all going to go home on their 3-week break. And they never do anything to help the American people. They don't care about the American people. They won't even release the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs. You know why? Half of them are probably in those logs. They will not release the flight logs and the videos. And the FBI's been suppressing them, the government's suppressing them. They're blocking that flight log, probably, without a doubt, because a lot of important people were on that pedophile plane. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it over to you before we switch subjects.
Well, the interesting thing is that you're talking about the ballet, uh, and you said a statement which I appreciated, which is they're athletes because they train days on end for hours and hours and hours. And you try walking on your toes for 8 hours in a day and wonder why your feet look like this afterwards. You know, a lot of ballet dancers suffer tremendous orthopedic problems with their feet and ankle for the years of dedication they gave it. And sometimes it's with no gratitude. The people they just don't understand it. It's a it's an art form that is overlooked by so many. I have personally never gone to the ballet. I have watched a few of them on TV, but I'm sure that I would go and probably be bored. But I do go to the theater, so it's always something interesting there. One of the things I wanted to bring up, which I think is important, is that as much as they want to hide the Jeffrey Epstein logs, Fall River does the same thing with the Matt Malone and the John Perry reports. Those are hidden. Can't talk about those either because someone might get named. Someone might get in trouble. Somebody might get prosecuted. That's, we got to protect our own. That's the way it goes in Fall River. The mayor's going to protect the people that he wants to protect. And those employees whose names were not redacted, that was the mayor saying, going to throw you under the bus. You take it, too bad. You should have kept your mouth shut. That's what's going on there.
Well, look, the ballet, as you said, people who don't understand what great athletes they were. Nureyev, at one time, the Russian ballet guy, was well known. He made a few movies actually because the athletic prowess that the males and females of the ballet, they are amazing physical specimens, and they work hard at that trade, and you have to respect that. But now we'll switch. That was a good segue about cover-ups because we did get some further information. We talked about the mold that they covered up and ordered nobody to talk about at the Laterno School. Now we have reports from very reliable sources that there's another mold problem at, guess where? Henry Lord, which is one of our newest schools. Doesn't surprise me. I was on a job when that place opened and it was leaking the second day it was open. I went to a box alarm there the day after it opened and there was leaks all over the place. Did they ever call the company in to fix them? Probably not. Surprisingly enough, now they got mold problems. Wow, what a surprise. But, cover-ups are a way of life in government in Fall River. I hate to say it. There's not a lot of things you could say that Fall River is is at the top of the pack. But we're almost as good at covering up as the feds are. Because we're pretty damn good at it. And on that, we'll switch over to that issue about the police department. CJ, I think you got a couple of shots there. Yeah, this is it. The city's fighting another police-related lawsuit to abuse, about cover-up abuse, and that's the thing. And I will kind of read the little thing that went along with it. Said the lawsuit outlines 12 counts that include violating Brennan Custodio's constitutional rights, assault and battery, conspiracy, abuse of process, and false imprisonment. Named in a civil suit, a former Florida Police Chief Jeffrey Cardoza, Captain Bardine Castro, now Deputy Chief Sergeant James Thorpe, Sergeant Paul D. Gaggy, Sergeant Louis Duart, Stephen Rosenberry, Sergeant Stephen Wilder, Sergeant Kevin Bashara, and police officers Jonathan Souza, Nicholas Custodio, and Kenneth Medeiros. Brian Custodio, who was terminated from the police department, was also named as a defendant. In addition to Custodio lawsuit, there are three outstanding uses, use of force and civil rights violations involving police officers, and another pending is in state court and paid out thousands of dollars to settle other police cases. This is really serious stuff, and it costs a lot of money, but it also shows the total chaos. These departments are in shambles. Malone had the school department in shambles. Perry had the DCM in shambles. And apparently the police department is still in shambles. And what is our mayor doing about it? Absolutely nothing. He likes this kind of stuff. And it went further than that. There was another one. I think you've got the other little thing that was posted, CJ. You can put it up if you want. That's it. The victim was forced to abandon her coffee shop. And this is the little thing that went along with that. The domestic violence case was so bad that she ended up abandoning her coffee shop, moving out due to her fear of retaliation. This case is going to be, it's going to be huge. That was a comment that went along with that. Yeah, this case is going to be a huge settlement, because for those of you who don't know about lawsuits have two parts. They have liability and they have damages. You can win a lawsuit but not make a lot of money because you didn't lose anything. Like if you say, well, the guy called me a bad name and he was lying, if you got the money, you can pay a lawyer to go there and the court will say, yep, you're right. You're not what he said you were, and he was wrong, and he is found guilty of defamation. But you're not going to get a lot of money if you didn't lose anything. You just say, well, but this individual had to sell her business, leave a city where she probably owned a home, or at least was contributing to the city with their rent to pay property taxes, and leave the city. This is going to be damages in this case are going to be big. And again, we are not told how much we're paying for Durfee. We are not told how much we're paying out in lawsuits. And that has been requested. I believe that when the new year comes, there is going to be a reckoning. There's going to be pressure to get those numbers, and if the city council won't do it, especially the new bobbleheads that are coming in, they probably will help keep the cover up going. There will be complaints, ethics complaints about it, and I think we might even be able to scrape up enough taxpayers to file a suit. This is our tax money. How much money have we spent in the last 4 years, and how many settlements are pending? How many millions of dollars of taxpayer money have we paid out and are going to pay out because we have a mayor that doesn't do shit about this stuff? And with that, CJ, back to you.
I don't know where to pick up on that. I really don't know where to pick up on that. I want to thank the Fall River Reporter for those postings. Um, we didn't get their permission, and Mike, I'm sorry that we didn't get your permission before we used it. It was kind of a fast running thing. Fall River Reporter is very good at following up on Fall River crime uh, issues and even lottery winners. There's a lot of things they report on. They're a great resource to use, and I would highly suggest that the people use the Fall River Reporter's website and their Facebook page to gather some valid news stories that don't take appears not to take a side. For a while there, I thought that Mike was, leaning towards being on the mayor's side, and then all of a sudden I saw a shift, and then I saw a shift back, and I'm just not sure. But I guess we have to play the game to get the information we need to make sure our businesses run so well. And Mike, Merry Christmas, and wish you the best. And by the way, Mike is a former airman or higher. He was in the Air Force, so I want to thank him for his service there as well. It's interesting to see, though, that we brought up again the mold in the schools, because remember when this new Durfee opened, there was a water issue before the building even was open to the public. We had a leaky roof. Then we had drywall put up before a roof was put on the building, and it rained in there. So there's always a potential for more mold. And remember, we've never taken care of a building in how many years? And when you build a building with an expectation that at the end of 40 years, the building's not going to be worth anything, and you're going to have to build a new building again, you've really got to look at something. You got to look at something. Because remember, the old Durfee, the original Durfee High School, over 100 years old, still intact, still beautiful, no mold, and the state put the money into it to make it a courthouse. Okay? Fall River could have put the money into it to repair it and keep it as a school. But they didn't want to do that because, like they did this time, we need a new school. We need a new school to educate our students. And guess what? After that school was open, educational attainment went down. Now we've got a new school that's open again because guess what? We're going to educate our students again. And, hopefully we'll see some educational attainment go up. But we still got a failing school system. Supposedly, the dropout rate has gone down. But again, we still have a failing school system. So a lot of good it does if your dropout rate goes down, but your school system's still failing. That just means the people who are going to drop out are staying in school. Why? Because they can't find a job. Because the minute they find a job, they're out of there. Even if it's to be a mechanic, which I think is a great job, or plumber's apprentice, or an electrician's apprentice. Those are great jobs, great trades. Trades are a wonderful thing, and people overlook them so much. Because remember something, a plumber can make more money than a doctor on one call. On one call. That's it. An electrician can make more money on one call than a doctor. You wonder why doctors are leaving the industry? That's why. Because the system is so broken that they can't make a living anymore. People went into the business of being a doctor and healthcare not because they were looking at making millions of dollars, although it could have been a benefit to many. But now they don't even want to. I was talking to my doctor this week, and she said she's afraid of when she gets older, what's going to happen. Because our nation, is switching from primary care physicians to primary care physician assistants and nurse practitioners. And I have a lot of respect for nurse practitioners. I have a lot of respect for physician's assistants. But I'm going to tell you now, is that what you want to take care of you as you get older? Or even now? I don't know. Can be devastating to some people. And in Fall River, we have a problem. We have two healthcare systems that fight each other, deliberately fight each other. And if you go to one healthcare system, you can only go to one hospital. And if you go to another healthcare system, you can only go to that hospital. And that healthcare system has made it so that they are the trauma center for Fall River. And you got to go to New Bedford to be treated at their trauma center. They're a level 2 trauma center. I don't like that. If I get into a trauma and I'm unable to answer, I don't want to go to New Bedford. I want to go to Rhode Island Hospital. I want a level 1 trauma center, not a level 2. I think I deserve first-rate care and a first-rate trauma center. And that's the way that is. So, but when we're looking at lawsuits in the city, to shift back to I had digressed. They cost us money, the taxpayer. It's not costing the mayor any money. It's costing us, the taxpayer. And when we see contracts that are signed without funding, because this isn't the first one, I believe this is the second one in so many months. Because the police department contract, we were told, oh, well, we're looking at investments down the road. I remember that. I remember that clearly. And on this one here, there was no answer onto how was it fully funded. They funded the back pay. That's all they funded. Do not think for a moment that they funded what's going forward. They only funded the back pay, the retro. So that says a lot. It tells you where our system is set up. And it's not set up for the benefit of the people. It's set up for the benefit of the politician. And that's why we lose.
Well, listen, that's true. But let's go back to what you talked about, the old Durfee. See, this is a classic example. See, this is a really great example of how they're all about getting their friends' money. Why did we build a Durfee and not rehab the old Durfee, which is a gorgeous building? I think architecturally it's beautiful, and I think it's something after the City Hall of Paris or something like that. But it's a gorgeous building. They said, oh, we can't do it, it costs too much. How many times have we heard that? Costs too much to renovate. We got to build a new one. Now, we all know the new buildings are always inferior. They got a 40-year max lifespan. That building, we've got fire stations well over 100 years old. Nearly 150 years old that are still there. And they were all rehabbed. All these buildings that they said could not be rehabbed were rehabbed. The Flint Fire Station is still a working building. They got rid of that. Can't rehab it. Too expensive. It's too expensive. The con artist mayor, the con artist council. Yeah, you can get a lot more kickbacks and you can put a lot more of your friends to work when you're building something new than just renovating. You can't build a building like that anymore. The lumber, everything. Twice as stable. And when you look at the real cost, 2 Durfees. Now, that was and if we were to rehab the old Durfee, it cost the state a pittance compared to what the taxpayers of this city had to pay for the old Durfee and the new Durfee to replace that Durfee on Rock Street. I went to school there. That's the con. They tell you that we can't do it. We can't rehab the building. We can't maintain a building. We can't figure out how much you pay. It's not that they can't. They don't want to. They don't want you to know how bad you're getting screwed. Number one, we're supposed to maintain those buildings. It's a city ordinance. We have a whole bunch of people employed getting money to maintain these buildings, and they don't. The new Durfee was leaking. The old Durfee was leaking. The Henry Lord was leaking the day after they opened the doors. I was there. I walked in to respond to a box alarm. And there were buckets all over the place. Did they call the contractor back to fix it? Hell no. And if they fix it, they didn't fix it right. And who paid for this now? Who's going to pay for the mold remediation? Besides the fact that they cover it up and bully employees not to say a word or your job's in jeopardy, they screw us, the taxpayers. It's all bullshit. They lie. They lie all the time. And they've been lying for years and covering up for years. Whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or the mold, politicians will always protect their friends at the expense of the taxpayers. This is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous that the children in the Henry Lord School and the Laterno School were exposed to compromised air, an environment where they had to breathe air with pollutants in it. It's an EPA regulation. And I think maybe after the holidays, maybe some complaints will be filed with the EPA. We're pretty good at filing complaints, but with that, I think, we've said it. I want to, as you open the show, I'd like to close my little piece of the show by telling our Jewish friends and viewers that I hope you all had a good Hanukkah, and obviously we support your right to be who you are. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, CJ.
I didn't get to play Dreidel this year, so I'm out of luck. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday, and remember, you have only until tomorrow to get your package and mail out to be received by Saturday the 23rd, because there will be no mail on Sunday and no mail on Monday the 25th. Hang tight. We'll see you on Monday.